chapter 27. And David said in his heart, I shall now be swept away one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul will despair of me, to seek me any more in the borders of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. And David arose and passed over, he and the 600 men that were with him, unto Achish the son of Maach, king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife. And it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. And David said unto Achish, If now I have found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in one of the cities in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you? Then Achish gave him Ziklag, that day. Wherefore Ziklag belongeth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. And the number of the days that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. And David and his men went up and made a raid upon the Geshurites and the Gizrites and the Amalekites, for those were the inhabitants of the land, who were of old, as you goest to Shur, even unto the land of Egypt. And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the oxen, and the asses, and the camels, and the apparel. And he returned, and came to Achish. And Achish said, Where have you made a raid today? And David said, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of the Jerahmeelites, and against the south of the Kenites. And David left neither man nor woman alive to bring them to Gath, saying, Lest they should tell on us, saying, So did David, and so hath been his manner, all the while he hath dwelt in the country of the Philistines. And Achish believed David, saying, He hath made his people Israel to utterly abhor him, therefore he shall be my servant forever. All right, let's go back to verse 1. Now, yesterday we'll remember that David and Saul, David had snuck into the camp, him and his Abishai, to go in, and they took the spear and the cruse of water that was by Saul's head. Of course, David returned the spear to Saul, but he kept that cruse of water. That would represent the truth that would surely be poured out upon all the world. And we're picking it up after that little episode there. Verse 1, And David said in his heart, I shall now be swept away one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should escape into the land of the Philistines. And Saul shall despair of me to seek me any more in the borders of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand. So David's saying to himself, I'm going to get out of here, because surely someday Saul's going to catch up with me. Now I'm going to go down into the land of the Philistines, those that drift from the Word of God, and I'm going to hide out there, and Saul will forget all about me. 2, And David arose and passed over, he and the 600 men that were with him, unto Achish the son of Maach, king of Gath. So now David, he is left out of Israel, and he's gone into the land of the Philistines. And he's gone back to Achish. Now, we remember last time David was in front of Achish, he acted like he was a crazy man, scratching at the door and letting spit run down on his beard. And Achish said, Get this man out of here. But David's gone back now to Achish, and Achish means to darken. He's the son of Maach, or Maach, and that means oppression. And he is the king of Gath, or the king of the winepress. So Achish, the dark one, who is the son of oppression, and he is the king of the winepress. David's gone down to him there, and verse 3, And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife. So David and all of his men here, these 600 men that David has, these 600 being the labor of man in its judgment. So now God's going to judge the labor of man. And these 2 wives, David's 2 wives, he wants you to witness this. We're going to go a little deeper into Ahinoam. Brother is favor. And brother means another son. That means that he's the brother and there is another son. So we're going to remember from the Song of Deborah how there would be great conflict in the end of who the true son was going to be. So now we see that there is another son. Why? We have the brother is favor. And brother is favor. She's a Jezreelitess and so we find now the brother is favored in the place where God sows. And this was where God should have sowed his seeds, but now there is contention there. And God told us that when Samuel took over, he said, you shall behold this contender there from now on. And that is what God is trying to show you here. And Abigail, his father is Joy, and she is from Carmel, the garden land, and she was the wife of the fool, if we remember. So when we understand this, God's going to have joy, and he is going to find favor, because Abigail represents that joy God has in the garden land when we understand these things, when we put away our foolish ways. 4, and it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. So now Saul hears that David's gone and got out of the country, and Saul ain't going to be looking for David no more. 5, and David said unto Achish, if now I have found favor in your eyes, let them give me a place in one of the cities in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should your servant dwell in the royal city with you? So David's told Achish, hey, why should I be here in this royal city with you, king? When give me a little city out in the country, and let me dwell there. 6, then Achish gave him Ziklag that day, wherefore Ziklag belongeth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. So Achish now has give David a city, and his Ziklag, this one it darkens, is given unto David this winding place. Ziklag means winding place. And it belongs to the kings of Judah to this day. Then Judah will be the praisings that are cast forth, or that go forth. 7, and the number of days that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. Now, this full year is a period of the whole cycle of the sun, the greater light, and the 4 months here now, 4 being the work, months being this periods of lesser light. So God's trying to show you now the work of the lesser light. 8, and David and his men went up, and they made a raid upon the Geshurites and the Gizrites and the Amalekites, for these were the inhabitants of the land, who were of old, as you goest to Shur, even unto the land of Egypt. So David and his men have gone up now, and they've made a raid on these 2 places, actually these 3, and these represent Geshurites, means to make, or to make behold, to make you see, Gizrites, a portion that has been removed, and the Amalekites are the valley dwellers, or those that live down in the valley, these that live in the low places of the earth. And they lived there, and they were inhabitants of this land of the old. And Shur means a wall, and even unto the land of Egypt, Egypt meaning the land of enclosures. So God is trying to show you now and make you see this portion that he has set aside in the land of the flesh, and he set a wall there so that you can see it. 9. And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the ox, and the asses, and the camels, and the apparel, and he returned, and he came to Achish. So David's gone down, and he's made a raid, and these were cities of the Philistines, and he's gone down, and he's actually come against these cities here on the southern borders of the land of the Philistines. And Achish wants to know, verse 10, and Achish said, Where have you made a raid today? And David said, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of the Jerahmeelites, and against the south of the Kenites. So David's not telling Achish exactly the truth, because David's killed everybody. He don't want nobody to know what he's done. And so David's told him that he's come up against Judah, or this, and the south means this parched land, this land that is dry and parched from not having the word of God. So David has told him he's went down against the parched lands of praising that goes forth, and the parched lands of the Jerahmeelites. And the Jerahmeelites means those who God has pitied, or has pity on. And this is the parched land of those whom God has had pity on, and the parched land of the Kenites. And the Kenites means the smiths. The smiths are the artificers of metals, the artificers of things, and they are the ones who represent idolatry makers. They have made the idolatries. They are the sons of Cain, and Cain was sent away out of the garden of God because Cain's offering was not acceptable. And the Kenites are just simply those children of Cain who represent idolatry, those who make idols. 11. And David left neither man nor woman alive to bring them to Gath, saying, Lest they should tell on us. So did David, and so hath been his manner all the while he hath dwelt in the country of Philistines. So David has made sure there ain't no witnesses, and he's done. And why did he do this? So no one could say, hey, this is what David's been doing the whole time he's lived here among the Philistines. He's been coming out, and this is a representation of the end time of David coming out, speaking the truth, telling the truth, the true word of God, the true covenant of God that God had made with man from the beginning to reestablish this covenant. David is going forth as a warrior of God to show these great battles that he's going to come against these people for God, so that we can have understanding. God gave David as a witness to the world, so that we could see through what David did what this one of the end times going to do. 12. And Achish believed David, saying, He hath made his people Israel utterly to abhor him, therefore he shall be my servant forever. So now this one of darkness thinks David's working for him, and we're going to find out he's not. He's the servant of God, and he serves God, and he's been put into exile. And though he's in exile, and men are trying to make him worship other gods by all the idolatry in the world, he is staying true to God, and he is going to fight the battles of God with the truth. And that's what God is trying to use David as an example, so we can see this portion that God has set to the side through the law, through the word, and see for the truth the example that was made, and know the truth, who the true Son of God is. All right, we're going to move on to chapter 28.